up. No, he's got to back up. He's got to back up. Keep moving.
The man in the blue jacket is Lennox Lewis's brother, Dennis, urging those in front of them to back up. Throughout his career, Lennox Lewis has projected at moments like this an almost supernatural calm. We used to distrust it. More and more we understand this is simply the man he is.
You know, he's taken a long and arduous and very tenacious road to the top of his profession. He hasn't really gotten enough credit for that, how he has stuck with it until he did achieve his dream. And
I can tell you what those guys are thinking as they walk up to that ring. Did I go to the restroom enough? Fact of life. Should I have gone once more? You are nervous.
Announcers aren't immune to that thought, George.
If you say to yourself, the uncertainty is the most frightening foe that ever lived.
Well, Lennox Lewis lived through a lot of uncertainty to finally become the heavyweight champion of the world. 35 wins, the one loss on a quick stoppage after the knockdown by Oliver McCall and the draw with Holyfield here last March in a fight in which most of the Western world thought that Lewis was robbed. And now let's go to ring announcer Michael Buffer to set up the heavyweight title fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Madison Square Garden, New York City. Tonight, 29 April, year 2000. Panics of USA, main events, and your undisputed, undefeated king of beers, Budweiser, present two men. The two combined biggest men in boxing history, facing each other for one title. The one true title, the legitimate, universally recognized, undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. Sanctioned by the New York State Athletic Commission, the WBC, the IBF, and the IBO. Presented in association with TVKO pay-per-view from HBO Sports and HBO World Championship Boxing. At ringside, the three judges assigned to score this 12-round bout on the 10-point must system are Anik Hongtong-Kam, Melvina Lathan, and Steve Weisfeld. And when the bell rings, your referee in charge of the action, Arthur Mercanti Jr. And now, from Madison Square Garden, New York City, for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing white trimmed with blue. He stands 6 feet 7 inches tall and weighs 250 pounds. He comes to the ring tonight with a perfect professional record consisting of 31 bouts, 31 victories, including 22 knockouts, and he has held the world title belt of the IBC. Ladies and gentlemen, from Norristown, PA, USA, here is the top-rated world contender, the undefeated challenger, Michael Grant. And across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, standing tall at 6 feet 5 inches and weighing in at 247 pounds. His professional record, an outstanding one with 37 bouts. He has 35 victories, including 27 knockouts, only one defeat with one draw while capturing 4 world championship title belts. Ladies and gentlemen, from East London, England, presenting the universally recognized, reigning and defending, undisputed, true heavyweight champion of the world, Lennox Lewis.
heavyweight championship history. It was done before and Bo Delano won, but it wasn't a title fight. Both have to be 10 ounces.
The difference in gloves came at Holyfield's insistence. Lennox Lewis enters first. He has labored long and bucked the tide of a lot of disrespect on this side of the Atlantic to get to this threshold.
There's almost too much at stake for this man. He's had an outstanding career. Everything that happens in the ring tonight will define that career, fairly or unfairly.
Fans in the arena cannot yet see Lennox. He makes his entrance. That moment comes now. Walking in front of Lewis, his trainer Emmanuel Stewart, the man who once guided Oliver McCall to a second-round knockout of Lennox, his only loss. And Stewart, with Michael Moore, Oliver McCall, Evander Holyfield against Riddick Bowe in their second fight, and with Lewis, has never lost a heavyweight championship fight. Because of the condition of the seating around ringside, fans jammed in like sardines, Lewis has some difficulty making it to the corner of the ring. Some small skirmishes at the edge of that knot of people as Lewis finally makes his way into the ring. Olympic gold medal in 1988, defeating Riddick Bowe to win as a professional, 34 wins.
Here's Lennox Lewis in the role of challenger will enter the ring first. George, we've talked about the significance in the past of a fighter trying to come back from a knockout loss against the same fighter who knocked him out. What must Lewis do in round one to reverse the psychology with which they left South Africa?
You got to make certain he doesn't get into any exchanges so that he does not taste and remember probably some injured confidence in there. One shot could bring it all back to him. I've been in that position before. You remember those knockouts too well. So his best thing is to stay out of exchanges, let him throw the shot from long ranges, don't get hit.
A rather pointed choice of entry music here as Lewis walks into James Brown's The Big Payback.
Well, Lennox Lewis has, at least in his public utterances, been in total denial of what happened in South Africa. He has a chance tonight to turn around that lazy, complacent, arrogant performance. Incidentally, Jim, the odds when this fight opened were somewhere between 4 and 5 to 1 in favor of Lewis. The latest report, it's down to 2 to 1. So the betting public is giving Rahman a serious chance to repeat South Africa.
Well, I don't think there's any question that observing the outward manifestations of the psychological interplay between the two fighters in these last few weeks leading up to the fight, the general perception is that Rahman is the one who's comfortable and likes his position. Lewis is on the defensive. Lennox says that's not the case. I'll reverse that as soon as I get into the ring tomorrow night. We shall see.
Remember that his history is when he gets angry or respectful or even fearful of an opponent, he tends to become more defensive.
Lennox Lewis, accompanied by the man who's done such a brilliant job of training him since the loss to McCall, Emmanuel Stewart, at Lewis's left shoulder as he makes his way into the ring.
10 years ago, won the gold medal at the Olympics in the super heavyweight division. I've always felt, Jim, as I've stated here more than once, that if he was an American, his crowd displeasing style would seem more pleasing and his sins would be more easily forgiven. In a sense, he's in a no-win situation here. If he scores a quick knockout, he won't get credit for that because of Briggs's reputation. If the fight even goes 4 or 5 rounds, and the over-under proposition is 5 rounds, it won't do him a lot of good in the public's eye.
For his part, Lewis said he would go after Briggs, quote, like a predator. He made it abundantly clear that he would hope to produce the same result here that he produced against Andrew Galata last October. That was a first-round knockout in 1 minute and 35. Earlier in his career, under original trainer John Davenport and then later under Pepe Correa, Lennox Lewis was something of a cautious counterpuncher. Emmanuel Stewart has labored long and hard to make him an attacking fighter. And in his last several fights, he has gotten only lighthearted opposition at best, as his firepower has clearly intimidated opponents like Oliver McCall, Henry Akinwande, and Galata. The record for Lennox Lewis, like Briggs, he has only the one defeat. That's the second-round knockout to Oliver McCall in London in 1995. He's won 32 fights, 26 of them by KO. Now let's take a look at a graphic which outlines the competitive situation at the top of the heavyweight division, a consensus of the major boxing magazines with our own editorial. There's Lennox.
Never received much recognition for his accomplishments in the U.S. Won a silver and a gold medal in Olympics. Lost 1 fight in 10 years as a professional. But a crowd displeasing style has worked against him in public recognition.
If you look carefully at Lennox Lewis and you conclude that his face shows you nothing, then you are in good and populous company. He labors to project an image of unshakable calm and usually succeeds.
There are some 6,500 British fans here. I find that extraordinary, amazing. 6,500 people flew over 5,000 miles to see this man fight and try to win all the heavyweight titles for the first time in this century for a Brit.
And this despite the fact that through much of his career, he was at best the second most beloved heavyweight in Great Britain, overshadowed by the far less competent Frank Bruno. But there is the record for Lewis, 34 wins, the draw in New York, the 1 loss to Oliver McCall, later avenged. Twice he has won heavyweight titles.